11, and
Mhm.
I still had quite a bit of liquid in both bottles. One was Perpetuum, which is calories, and the other is Fizz, which is electrolytes and only 10 calories. So I was able to, refill, get some new stuff, and go on. And then from that 11-mile mark, we were running like 8:30 pace in a runnable section, and kind of flat single Jeep trail, I'd call it, nice dirt, no rocks. And we came to what's called Twin Sisters. It's just this climb, it peaks and then it climbs again. And I started noticing my heart rate was starting to go up. But by mile 7, I want to say I was already dripping sweat off of my hat. And then I was looking at pictures that someone took of me at that equestrian aid station, and my shirt was soaked, even my shorts. And I'm like, man, okay. So I got to Twin Sisters and Ted, my friend, dropped me right there. And I was kind of slow to go and recovering on the downhill. But then I knew I had a big challenge coming in, another climb called Ice Cream. And I mean, it's very steep. I would say it would be a great hard enduro course, but it was very steep, and there's some big step ups. So like you have to do lunges and crunches because it's not a ski pole race. You don't need them for the whole race. So and I'm just letting people go, and again, I'm looking at my heart rate. I'm like, holy smokes, I cannot get my heart rate down. So I got to the top of Ice Cream. I knew it was a long downhill after that, and it was just, I could run maybe 400 or 500 yards, then I had to stop. And this, the stars and stuff that were kind of going on in my head. And then, so that's about mile 13 or 14. And this section is a particularly long one between aid stations. So I knew, I was like, just get to the next aid station. And I in my head, I was like, maybe I'll just pull at mile 18. I've already finished the race twice before. I've done the full 100K. So it was just my goal to just finish under 14 hours and do it quicker. So I'm like, well, it's not my day. Let's just pull out. But got there. My buddy was there waiting for me. And, let's just aid station to aid station. Let's just do that. And so, sure. And so I got some lube on my toes. I had a big blood blister because coming down these rocks. And I don't know, I forgot to cut pieces of KT tape to wrap my toe, and just another mistake I made. But I was just cantankerous. And then I continued on. I tried to have peanut butter and jelly square, basically, and I could get like 2 bites, and I just threw it in the woods for some animal to pick up later, and some Welch's fruit chews or something. I didn't even bother opening them. So I do get to the next aid station, and he's just like, look, that's already 4 of 12 segments done. You're making progress. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand my heart rate. I cannot get it to come down. Next section's relatively flat. And I said relatively, there's climbs and crappy rocks, a lot of rocks. And I get to the last aid station, and he's not supposed to run with me on the first loop, but the assistant race director was there, and I know those guys, and they allowed him to run with me. So we ran in. I got to mile, I mean, I had just finished 24 ounces of water. I got to mile 28, and I started vomiting, but it was just like tar balls. It was weird. It was really weird. And it took me 22 minutes to do mile 28 to 29. And then, I had a couple more episodes coming to the finish chute. And I said to my buddy, Jason, I'm like, Jason, I think I'm about to boot in front of all these people on the finish chute. So I got through the finish chute as quick as I could. And I made the decision in my mind. I said, I'm going to tell the volunteer to take my timing chip, and because I don't want to make a stupid decision. A bunch of other friends that ran the 50K or were crewing were in there. They're like, and I didn't want them to talk me into it. So I had them take my chip, and I went over to talk to those guys, and then I had to sprint back towards my RV because I was about to have another episode. So in the end, it was the right decision. I'm pretty sure it was dehydration, and I couldn't catch back up, and then I had the cramping issues, like I mentioned, just on the verge of it. So, but I'm already looking forward to the next race. I'm looking at a race in February. So, the only disappointment was that I had such quality training going into it, and I was even with that crappy result, I was ahead of my goal time. So,
Wow.
so yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I needed to be 13:30 pace, and I was like 12:30. So, I was still pretty excited. So,
That's
Anyway,
incredible. Oh my God. Like major kudos to that. I just
thanks.
started running again this last year, after taking about a year and a half off because of my health, and I cannot imagine doing that pace right
You
now.
know, it's
For that
funny.
long at least.
You can. I promise you can. And I always
Yeah.
well, I played college baseball and we got punished and for I don't even remember what we did, but we had to run 5 miles. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is the dumbest thing on earth. Running is so dumb. I hate this. This is gross. It was true punishment.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
yeah. And I'm just like, this is so bad. And then when I was in my 20s, I got talked into running the Houston Marathon by I was working for the Houston Rockets at the time, and they were with the Houston Aeros, a minor league hockey team that's not there anymore. And they've both done it and they talked me into it. And I would get excited to wake up on a Saturday morning at 4 in the morning to go run 14 miles with the group, right? And my
Yeah.
mindset changed and my mentality changed. And and then I moved from Houston to Dripping Springs, Texas to Austin area. And I'm looking for runners to train with and just do stuff. And of course, the group I find, they're all ultra runners, they're all 100 milers and different. They're like, you're doing Bandera. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not, I'm like, 26.2 is enough for me. And then I went out and trained and did it and was like, holy smokes. It's when you do the 100K, it's like you get to that same 20-mile mark and you
Mhm.
get the heavy legs from a marathon. It's the same feeling and it just maintains through the rest of the other 42 miles. It's that. But, with a course like Bandera, it's, really punchy climbs and really rocky terrain. So you do walk quite a bit. You walk where you can't run and you run the runnables and then manage it from there. And there's some mental places. There's one place called the horse track. It's a mile long loop in this field. It's so gross. It's just you're in your head. And then you have another flat coming to the Yaya aid station. And as easy of a section it is, it's probably mentally the toughest because there's no rocks and nothing. You're just looking at, dirt. And so anyway, yeah, you totally can do it. It's just a matter of just that increase in your percent of training
Yeah.
and just taking your time and easing into it. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's my goal for this coming year is to get into that kind of shape. My goal for last year was I really wanted to do a half marathon. And I was training because I've never done a run like that before. I did my first 5K this year as well because I've
Nice.
never done like an actual run for like a competition or whatever. I
Yeah.
used to run with the military all the time. My
Okay.
ex-husband was military, and I had a job where I essentially had to go do PT with them all the time. So I was running like 13 miles a day. And back then, I was in my early
Nice.
20s. I was running 6-minute miles, but I'm not 30, or I'm like in my 30s now. I'm not 20 anymore. And I'm only 5 feet tall, so it's like super fast for me.
It's
But
the turnover. My
it,
coach said you need to have 90 steps a minute. You need to be quick
yeah.
feet. So yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did really well in my training. I was doing 20 miles twice a week. So I was like, so for me, I'm in North Dakota right now and there's not really a whole lot of elevation here. So I figure if I could run 20 miles in no elevation, that when I went to run my half marathon in Arizona in elevation, it's not a ton, but it's like 4,000
Yeah,
feet, that I would be able to do that no problem.
for
And
sure.
then I ended up getting injured actually, and then I wasn't able to go um, to my half marathon. But I was like, so mentally, I was just kind of like really upset because it was kind of the same thing. I trained so hard, I worked from April when I started to the half marathon was supposed to be in December, so like I just missed it. And I was really upset. It's just really hard to get over mentally. So like,
Hmm.
how are you
Yeah.
getting past that?
Yeah, I think for me, and this actually can roll into sponsorship too. For me, I think it's easier because I had completed the distance twice. I've completed that race twice,
Mhm.
and so I was looking back and telling myself, if that was my first time running that, would I have stopped or would I have figured things out, gathered myself at the halfway point? Because it's two loops, so I had plenty of people to help and different things. And I think had it been my first, I probably would have continued on and not worried about the time. But since I had goal time and the way my health was feeling, some internal organ stuff, maybe it was from the vomiting or what, but I just said, okay. Even a few hours later, I was like, man, maybe I should have gone back out, questioning myself. But it's okay. You can't do that. You can't beat yourself up about that. And again, it all kind of came down to you put in the work, you did the work. Even if you're a motorsports person, you're putting in the work and you're not seeing sponsor results, you're not seeing stuff, you kind of can tend to beat yourself up about it. But, mentally you have to, take a step back, look at it and say, the time will be right. It's in his time, being a Christian religious person. It wasn't the right setting, right thing. So I'm at peace with it. I really am. I was jealous of my buddies coming across the finish line later that night, but I was there. I had an RV. They came in, we celebrated their accomplishments, and it's a cool community. It really is a cool community. And when you're keeled over at mile 28, letting your insides come out, and then you pass that person that just saw you, and you're like, weren't you the guy that was just, and so I think mentally it's something you just have to accept. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
and I said it in my social media post, is that there's good days and bad days, and that it just wasn't my day that day, and the right time will come. And yeah, same with sponsorships, with people seeking, those results, and you get, and this can come from both sides of the table, but you're out there looking for SHERCO sponsors, and you get told no 100 times, and then you
Mhm.
get the one yes, and it's the big win, and you kind of, it brings yourself up. But there's a lot of peaks and valleys, and there's a correlation between business and endurance sports, and particularly ultra running, from personal traits to how you manage business. So I think there's a lot of good crossover there. Sorry, long-winded answer to
No.
your question.
I think it's very interesting. So that's great.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, you bet.
No, I'm all for it. I 100% agree. This is actually a really great thing to bring up. I was just having a conversation with Zach. Zach just had a valley. He was riding a high. He got like 10 sponsorships in less than 2 months. It was insane. He just like
Mhm.
skyrocketed. And then he had about a 4 month stall out where all he was getting was products, and he was getting mad because he wasn't getting paid. And Courtney was struggling with the same thing. And for both of them, I told them it's not that you don't have value, it's just that you're talking to the wrong people.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, stop thinking so much of all of these people are telling me no. It's like, no, if all of those people are telling you no and they're all the same type of people, you should consider like a different, if something's not working, you got to change something a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. I saw your
So
post, and I don't know if it was from today or not, where you're talking about everyone's hitting the same people within the industry. And so to look, all the endemic people, sure. I mean, we get hundreds and hundreds of messages and resumes and things every day. And it's you're right. It's finding that non-endemic that it's like, wow, I didn't realize that these people have this kind of money, or it's this, demographic, or so. Yeah, that's a very fair point.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it all spurred. I was telling Angel this. Somebody was texting Nick, and they said like he shared one of my sponsorship posts, and they were all like, "Oh, there's no money in dirt biking anyway." And I was like, "That's such a stupid phrase, because there's billions of dollars in dirt biking. It's just it's already like put somewhere. Now you have to grow it yourself. Like you have to bring it in. You can't just expect it to all get perfectly displaced. if
Right.
if all of the endemic brands goals is to like grow the sport, if you are not actively growing the sport and it's just you got to get the money to help them grow the sport.
Yeah, it's the cost benefit of, from the OEM side. It's not just growing the sport, because growing the sport adds numbers, adds potential sales, but it's certainly that outlook for someone like Sherco, for example, being such a small and newer brand, only been founded in 1999, and in the United States, very very little in terms of exposure up until about 2019. They'd average about 200 units, 250 units between trials and enduro, and then you know really put some effort into this and grow, but doing it from a husband and wife team or just the importers, right? Versus, a peer mobility group with KTM, Husky, Gas, and Felt bicycles. And, they, I've seen some dealerships where they, a couple dealerships had more motorcycles on their floor than we had in our warehouse at the time. And so again, we're not looking to be them for sure, but it's where's that growth going to come? How are you going? What's the cost benefit for me? Whether that's cost of what it costs for a motorcycle to give to you to use to do your thing, whether it's whatever it may be, a teacher, a racer, whatever it may be, and getting us the exposure so that there's several funnels within the marketing paradigm, and is it the brand awareness, people consideration to buy, the customer loyalty and referrals, and then we all float as the tides rise. So yeah, that's a very, very fair point. So finding people outside of the industry is crucial. Bringing in those people and seeing that those new dollars into the sport, like you said, Catherine, it gets more people involved, more people enthused, more people riding, more customers and lifelong customers, I'm sure, because everyone will get hooked once they get on a dirt bike. So
Yeah, that's the other one that I didn't even think about is like now not only are we giving a business like say Camping World, right? Just because we've been kind of talking about them, not only would there be a connection for Camping World to get access to motorsports audience, but now Camping World has such a broad audience that they can then advertise that they're involved in motorsports, and then their audience can get they're like millions of people who love campers and stuff. They can do a raffle or a giveaway, whatever, for like a camping spot, and now you have all of these campers all looking at MotoGP or extreme hard enduro or all of these other crazy sports. So it's like the cross promotions that happen is really underlooked. So that's pretty cool.
agreed for sure. Yep. And sorry, I feel I'm sort of like lull and null right now. I don't know if it's from the race, but I feel like I'm coming down with something, so I'm trying to hydrate as much as I can. So I'm sorry if I'm just kind of like, ugh.
No, you're totally fine. You're absolutely
Okay.
fine. I spent the
Okay.
last 2 days just smashing my body into the side of a mountain, so I'm with you.
saw
I'm
it.
like,
I saw you.
la 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 la. Training out in King of the Motos territory is something
Yeah,
else. I've never been in the California Crummel before, so it's been quite the learning curve.
no doubt. Are you going to be at Motos next weekend?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I will be at Battle of the Goats, and
Oh, that's right.
Angel's
Yeah.
forcing me to run Tennessee Knockout. So that's going to be a
Okay.
thing, apparently.
Sweet. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. No,
Thank you.
I leave tomorrow at 4 a.m. So myself and Claudio from SHERCO are driving the rig across the country. We're make Phoenix tomorrow and then Johnson Valley on Thursday.
Ooh-wee.
So yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. I don't mind. I like seeing the country that way. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's Angel's gonna start traveling the country with us. And I think that's
Nice.
her whole thing too.
Very
I've
cool.
done a lot of traveling between Arizona and Minnesota because those are the two places that I've lived. So I've done a lot of that back and forth, but I haven't gone like coast to coast before.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty excited to kind of branch off of the one road that I've always been on and see other things.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. And so it'll be really cool. I'm gonna be going out to California to go hang out with Catherine in like 3 weeks. So
Yeah, something like
it'll
that.
be awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Brian, let's hear your lovely rant. This is the question everybody wants to know. What is the big pet peeve that all endemic brands that I'm just going to give you the voice of endemic brands right now? What's your number one pet peeve when somebody sends you a stupid Instagram message that says, please see the attached?
This and it's funny. Zach shared your post on LinkedIn and it just went through my mind instantly. It's just laziness, pure laziness. Not looking into the brand and I'll use a personal story. My son, he's a junior in high school and he's being recruited by colleges to play soccer at the next level. And even college recruiters say if you're going to write to a coach and you're going to send them your film of you playing soccer or riding a dirt bike or whatever it is, make sure you find some, not icebreaker, but something. You might go to the college website, see that the coach, like in one instance, one of the coaches grew up like in a couple towns over from me, and found out that he knows a family friend. And so that was the opening paragraph. And did the coach respond? Yes. And the coaches, one particular school we visited was West Texas A&M up in the Panhandle, Division II school. And the coaches, each one of them, the head coach, the assistant coach, and graduate assistants, they get over 150 emails a day from prospective college athletes. So from SHERCO, from myself, our president, Ron Solomon, and others, it's not that type of volume, but it's pretty heavy. So don't be lazy and just say, hey, I'm Angel, or I'm Catherine. I ride a dirt bike and I have 800 followers, or I have 10,000 followers, whatever it may be. Look at who you're sending it to. And if you have my email address, who is Brian Cram? Look up what I've done, or research the company bits. Like, I was really intrigued with the Spanish heritage, or the ties to Bultaco, and the uniqueness of SHERCO being a combination of Bultaco and the Sherpa Model T. That's really cool. And, just something that I'm not going to instantly just file it in the circular file, which, in the old days, and just throw it in the trash can. So the main thing is just not be lazy. Do some research, find out something about the company, find out something about the bike, something that's going to make me want to open it and want to see more, or want to learn more about you, as an individual, as a person, first and foremost, because we're way more concerned with what type of person you are, rather than, just results. Because, if you're getting results, but you're not a great person, so anyway, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go right back and look into you and find out something. So number one is my number one. It's the canned message. Sometimes even if they are good enough to put the person's name in, they forget to change the name or brand in their canned email, or message. Usually it's not very robust. It's very simple. And, I'm Joe Schmo, and I ride in the B class in the Indiana series, and I'm really looking to get results. And we know we all we all want to win, but are you? It's everyone says, oh, my goal is to win 10 races next year. Well, of course, it was my goal to win Bandera too. I just knew it wasn't going to happen. The winner finished in 7 hours and 44 minutes and broke a course record. So it's just, so laziness is by far my number one pet peeve in that situation.
So, Brian, I've got a couple questions for you. And just so that I don't lose my train of thought, the first one, because I'm not going to ask this question, is Angel, remind me to ask him about the multi-million-dollar deal. And then, so on that, Brian, how important is it for somebody to have value outside of their social media or their racing for you guys in endemic brands? Because when you said that, like, oh, I just want to win, what do athletes do when they get injured for endemic brands or sponsorships, that when all they did was pitch race?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I can even comment on that at the pro level. Cody Webb for a year there he was broken quite a bit. He had a few injuries and wasn't able to compete in the hard enduro series, and the end of the hard enduro series, and then endurocross when he had that injury at TKO and the day after TKO. But he did everything he could to stay relevant and be an ambassador for the brand still. And whether that was doing Zooms, doing interviews, being on podcasts and different things, and just getting the brand out there and continue to be out front, instead of just saying, well, I'm just a racer, so that's all I have to worry about is just racing my dirt bike. And it's not that, and it's more than social media. It's being a community member, volunteering at the local tracks or trails, and doing that kind of community service and things like that, and doing it in a SHERCO t-shirt, or showing up. Maybe it's a trail cleaning day and you have a chainsaw on the front, and maybe people don't know much about your bike and your setup, and you said, well, why don't you just take it for a ride? So yeah, just being involved outside of just racing, but just you don't necessarily even have to be a racer to be someone that is attractive to a brand. There's people out there that clearly have proven that, but racing is the heart blood of what supports motorsports, whether it's four wheels or two wheels, and that's where a lot of research and development, and then the next level comes up of younger athletes and things. But to answer your question a little more succinctly, is just staying involved in your local community, especially if you're not this big AMA pro, and it's sort of the Tito's vodka model, where Tito Beveridge, the founder of Tito's, he wanted to own Austin before he owned Texas, before he owned the Southeast, Southwest, and then all of the United States. And his model's working. And similar with someone's personal brand, they should, almost like people say, oh, that person's a gym rat. Well, that person should be a shop rat. And go to the shop, go to the dealership, and maybe there's some co-promotional opportunities, not just with the OEM, not just with some aftermarket parts. Maybe the aftermarket parts company loves to work with X dealer, and there's some co-op that's done, and whether it's they 50-50 some kind of deal. So be there, show your face, go to the races, go to the trails, go to the rides, the dual sport rides, whatever they may be. So just be involved actively in the community.
Heck yeah. Oh no, I lost my train of thought. Angel, do you have any questions based off of that? I had it and then I lost it.
Not really questions. I think that's really cool though. I think that integrity for me personally has like always been a big thing. And that's kind of what I guess sums up what you just said, I think, is that people who have integrity are really like people who you would want to work with, right? Does that
For
sound
sure.
about right? Essentially?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
because I mean,
Absolutely.
to me, integrity is like you're gonna do the thing whether or not you have that backing or whether or not people are watching you. You're still gonna do it because that's how you feel, how you like. I guess you're passionate about it or whatever, and that really shows through, in my opinion. So.
Right. I bet you the two of you can name 5 people off the top of your head that you say, that's a good person. That's a person I'd want to be associated with from a personal standpoint. And so just take that up, 100 notches and say, okay, from a brand standpoint, that's a person we'd like to be associated with. And depending on morals, beliefs, or the other side of the spectrum, you're just whatever you may be looking for. So yeah, that's definitely a good summation of not just the social and digital side, and of course race results, as you said. So just being engaged, being someone that you want to be associated with.
Brian, okay, this is a different question than the one I originally wanted to ask. But my favorite thing ever is when people think that if they make it to the top of their club, there's going to be a scout there that'll find them. Is that true? Are there people hiding in the bushes, places like hunting for real people, or is it always you have to go find somebody to take their first chance on you?
That's a good one, and I can say personally that when you race certain series like we do, you're certainly paying attention to results from the other classes, from even all the way down to C class, and how young are they. And while he doesn't ride a SHERCO, there's one boy in particular I think is phenomenal. They just call him Kana Boy, sorry, from Hawaii. And his mom, his family are just super family, like just super cool people. And the kid gets results left and right. And it's just a situation it was at, it wasn't my call. But I think he'll be a next star. And you kind of see that, through the results. And then, some of the kids that are riding for us, obviously we saw the same thing. Seth Steiner, Riley Bender, and some of these kids that impress early on. And yeah, you do see them at the races and things. So it's not like we're hiding out with binoculars and stuff, but certainly, we're there. You get to know families. I mean, I found quickly when I came to work for SHERCO that the motorcycle industry is way smaller than you think. It's like so many people know so many people. It's obviously a vast industry, but it's so many paths intersect and intertwine, and so yeah. And then of course you look across the board at different series and stuff, and I can't say anything right now, but there's some riders that we're going to support in different Go Fast series that again, just one of them was outreach to us. One of them, I saw the individual ride at a race, and again, these aren't Factory One SHERCO riders, but they were worthy of some support. So yeah, we're looking at other series. We're looking within the series, and that goes for every OEM. And because the best way to sell bikes is with results and with good people, as we said. So, or as I said. So I think that's a great question, but for sure, there's still a lot of people that we may have no idea about because they are racing Indiana cross country racing and they're the best, but we just don't know. We're not following. We're a small company, so whereas other people may have those quote unquote scouts or regional teams and such, like KTM has so many different regional teams or trail jesters and others, and so they can have those feeder systems, and so we're getting to that point. But yeah, that's a good question. I think for sure some of it comes from the inbound, but a lot of it's on us noticing talent out there. Good question.
That's really good information, actually, because yeah, I like that.
It's funny, and so you have a very outgoing personality, very, very likable, very easy to talk to, approachable, obviously someone that, you came to me and said, would I do this? And, some people I would probably say no, but in the same way, in the paddock, there's people like that too. So when they're coming through the pits and stuff and they approach our tent and they engage in conversation, you get to know them, and that, really sets the bar, lifts the bar. And so, that's another thing. Don't be shy. Don't fade away. It's like sometimes I get frustrated with my son because I'm like, here's an opportunity. There's one of the coaches right there. Go talk to him. You just go introduce yourself, go say hello, just so they know your name and remember your name when they see Logan Cram, scored a goal and had an assist and, had all these, oh, that's the kid I met. Oh, so it's the same way. Oh yeah, isn't that kid that we met at Everett at round 1 of Endurocross? So same thing. Approach and be approachable.
Is there a tactic outside of the icebreaker to get yourself remembered more, have better repetition?
That's a really good question. What is a tactic that would? It's just don't be lazy, and again, just for me, that is what's going to have is like from a business side, I get hit up on LinkedIn almost every day by probably 10 to 15 marketers that have the newest AI, the newest this that we need to use. And most of them I just ignore. Obviously I read a little bit and I'm just like, no. And then there's the few that I will take the time to respond, say, thank you. We're all set for now, but I'll keep you in mind. Again, it was because of something they would have said in the first few lines of their, again, they connect, and then sometimes I get that message within a minute. I'm like, yeah, no. But the other people that take time to write something thoughtful, or those for me, they stand out. I'll remember some of those people. So I don't know if there's a great tactic, but if you see me in person, say hello. Say, I remember you from Instagram or whatever. So I don't know. So that's a really good question. But for me, again, just don't be lazy. Don't be afraid to approach someone and do your homework.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, on the topic of homework, Brian, there's a birdie on your LinkedIn that tells me, and also you've told me, that you managed to sign $1 million deal off of a jersey.
Yeah. Multi-million-dollar deal.
Multi-million-dollar deal. Are you able to talk about how you managed to make that happen?
Yeah. So what Catherine's referring to is I worked for the Houston Dynamo in Major League Soccer, and that was 2006. And 2007, Major League Soccer allowed teams to sell the commercial rights to the front of the jersey, much like it's done everywhere else around the world. And I'd been talking to a retail electric provider because in the state of Texas, in most markets in the state of Texas, electricity is deregulated. So I could buy Excel Energy, or I could buy NRG or whatever it may be. So there was this really small brand called Amigo Energy, and they just wanted to get in front of Dynamo fans, and we were talking about a $25,000 deal. And the more I was listening to them and what their needs were, I came back to them and said, this is going to sound ridiculous, but you should really consider being our jersey sponsor. How much is it? Well, it's 7 figures. Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's have a conversation. So in the end, one of the main reasons I was able to secure the deal was, again, definitely listening to what their business objective was, 2, finding out more about how they're going to acquire customers. And it turned out they had a $50 per customer acquisition cost, right? So if they wanted Angel or Catherine to sign up, they would spend $50 to get you to sign up. That was basically per person. So I said, well, did you know that an authentic Adidas jersey with your logo on it costs $35? And we could have them at the jersey. We could be obviously selling them. But what if people came up to your booth, switched their electric provider to you, and they got a free jersey? Everyone, when the jersey changes, they want a brand new one. So they thought about it. They went to the board, and I think it was just over $1 million the first year. And then, it was minimum of 3-year deal. And it worked for them. They went from like the 36th ranked retail electric provider to the top 10. And again, everyone wanted the jersey, the free jersey, and all they're doing was switching their electricity from, I don't know, Direct Energy or somebody else. And you're talking pennies when you talk about margins and electricity. And so, to me, if I'm spending a penny difference to get the free jersey, but I don't go to a soccer game thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to go sign up for a new cell phone, my retail electric or whatever. And it worked. It worked for them. And yeah, and then I sold another multi-million-dollar jersey deal to Green Star Energy, which is a recycling company. So I was the first person in Major League Soccer to sell not only 1, but 2 jersey sponsorships before some teams had even sold their first. So yeah, proud. And then when we opened what was BBVA Compass Stadium, I'd sold the majority of the founding partnerships there, like $250,000 and up. So yeah, it's just understanding the company's needs. And like I said, they literally were about to sign a $25,000 deal, and we took that to 7 figures. And because we figured out a solution for them to convert people to their electricity.
That's an amazing activation. And that makes me geek out. So because I'm having the same problem with like my sponsorship class, right? My cost of acquisition is super duper high. So I just got a marketing coach. And one of the things they're talking about is the most incredible free gift ever. The Myth Key is what they're talking about. And it's it's like sign somebody into a continuity program by giving them other free stuff.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how business marketing is exactly what sponsorship is. There's so many different ways to solve the same problem. And it's just the questions you ask companies seriously make a difference in how much they're willing to pay you.
True. You're spot on saying, sponsorship is marketing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
From the first days, it was first days of sports sponsorships was actually called advertising. It was advertising, baseball walls or whatever. And it just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. Clearly, long gone are the days, and I think I mentioned this before, just slapping a logo on a bike or your jersey or something and saying, I hope it works for you. No, you have to show results. And whether it's driving them to e-commerce or to brick and mortar, being super creative. So you, the person, have to think like a marketer instead of how am I going to just generate revenue? No, how am I going to generate revenue for them, which is in turn going to, work out for me. So, yeah, no, you said it right there. Sponsorship is marketing for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think are some of the most important questions to ask a business when you're trying to figure out like how you could help them? What are some of the key questions that you have had that you think are really great?
Yeah, or that I ask because I'm responsible for these logos and,
Yep.
so I get it from both sides of the table. And for me, when a lot of people get caught up saying how they think they can help the company, and they may be completely wrong. And I'll go back to Houston Dynamo. Some people don't need tickets and hospitality. Some people just need digital, social and digital and such. So I typically get into just a quick introduction. If they don't know the brand, a quick overview of the brand and such. But then I quickly deflect and say, really, I'm here because I want to learn about your objective. And I usually go, what moves the needle for you or for your brand? And, how are you accomplishing your objectives? From there, I'd like to see if I can formulate something from our end that can meet those objectives. Because you can't go into every situation thinking you have the perfect solution for somebody, and don't try to force it on someone. Sometimes there's companies that might have dollars to spend, but their objectives are different than the solutions you have to provide. And you're going to fight for that just to get turned down eventually, and you're going to just spin your wheels in the mud. So sometimes you just have to, cut bait or fish, and that, sometimes just cut and go and say, I don't think I can achieve that. And don't pretend like you can, like how do I get these people that thing that they want that I don't have? So yeah, the thing for me is just going as quickly, turning the conversation to them to tell you what they're doing currently, that's whether they need new users or data or whatever, whatever their objective is. And then you can say, well, I think I have some unique ideas to do that for you. And it's usually in that intro email too. It's like, I have a few unique ideas that I think could help, but I want to make sure, I'd like to learn from you and see what helps on the business side and the business objectives.
That's a good one. I like that. I'm gonna pluck that out of here, and I'm gonna start using that.
For sure.
That's a good one. Yeah. Wow. I'm learning so much. It's always fun when you like have a conversation. Like Angel, is any of this clicking for you? I've been coaching Angel. She's like my sidekick along this podcast, where we're documenting, because everybody says it's really easy for me to get sponsorships because I'm a business and not an individual. So with the TKO challenge, what I'm doing is I'm documenting the process of how I'm getting sponsorships as an individual for that specific event. So
Yeah.
Angel's been along for the ride for that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm basically coming from like no background in, well, I have a little bit of like a marketing HR background, but I don't have any experience with like true sponsorships or anything. So I'm like the impartial person who's learning with everybody in the audience. So I'm asking the questions that those people probably are thinking of. So but everything that you've been saying, it's funny because I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about that in this episode, and we talked about this in this episode, and I'm just like, this is exactly like it's all coming together for me.
Yeah,
So.
reinforcement. Sure. Well, I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear people. I'm on the right path anyway.
I was thinking more I'm on the right path, but
Okay, good. Good
oh,
for
and
you.
I was gonna say I'm on the right path. But
Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, no, I think
Jinx.
it's amazing. It's everything that we've been talking about, and it's been what 3.5, 4 weeks of doing this, and I have learned so much. I feel like my brain's gonna explode. But
It's a
like,
lot to take in, definitely. I
it
mean,
is,
especially as someone
it is.
that doesn't have the experience. I mean, my path was right out of college selling tickets for the Houston Rockets. And when I got that job, I'm like, I pictured myself in a little booth, printing tickets. And I didn't realize I was in an office calling people to a Saturday Series Pro-Am, which is where I started talking to director level people about playing golf with pros, to, I had Texas A&M University sponsorships, Houston Dynamo sponsorships, Circuit of the Americas, and then this. And so, I've had years of experience doing this. I can't imagine doing this as a young kid or a young adult, a 20 something that has zero experience. And yeah, I can see how someone could really really muddle the conversation quickly, and and so this is good stuff for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's really great that Catherine is doing this and kind of putting it out there for people, because so many people, and it's since doing this podcast these past few weeks, I've been, seeing stuff on social media and people posting their racer resumes on like social media groups. And I'm like, I sent one to Catherine and I was like, look how weird this is. We just talked about this. But like I'm learning a lot, and it's really cool to kind of see, like I said, just to have everything kind of like basically verified, I guess is the only word that I can think of right
Sure,
now. But
sure.
it's
Yeah.
really cool. So I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about this because I'm just like geeking out right now.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So, Brian, before we ask you for any last words of wisdom, I want to know, is there like a stigma around the word sponsorship now? Because I've heard that before, where people, a lot of people that get the sponsorship like pitches, cold pitches right off the email, the second they hear the word sponsorship, they just kind of get the ick. They like pull away, immediate delete. Is that a thing? Is there a secret language?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And so if I see an email that comes across and it's person name and their rider number or something, and I'm looking for sponsorship. I guess because I've been on the other side of the table, that it doesn't turn me off as much, and a long time ago when I was with the Houston Dynamo, owned by the then massive company called AEG, Anschutz Entertainment Group, who own the LA Galaxy, LA Kings NHL team, and the Staples Center, just the O2 in London, so many massive properties, right? We were always cautioned about the word partnerships in any documents and things, and the reason being is you don't want people to think it's true partnership. So that was one they said try not to use. And I don't know. I don't know if I agreed with that or disagreed, and because a lot of this it really does need to be a partnership so that both sides succeed, right? I mean, essentially that's what it is. Because you're right, the one word sponsorship seems one direction in some ways, instead of partnership is both sides are involved, to help each other, achieve results. And same way, it's like Motul, whoever, again, it wasn't like, great, they're sponsoring us. I hope this logo, if people see it on the blog, that, oh, I'm going to look up Motul. No, I have to make sure that they are looking up Motul, and I need to make sure that we're using all of the assets that we have available to see Motul. I need to be that marketing extension. So the word sponsorship, it doesn't necessarily turn me off or say like, oh boy, but it just depends on what follows in that first couple lines. Again, if I'm going to go, if I'm even going to reply, if I'm not going to reply, I'm not that person that doesn't reply. I typically reply to everyone, and I've always felt like it doesn't matter if I'm at 49 years old and it's a 21-year-old kid. His dad may want me to work for him. He may become the president of a company, and so I just always wanted to say, like, when I was his age, I would have appreciated for somebody to respond to me as well. So I typically will respond. I don't just delete. I will respond to everyone and say, thank you for reaching out. Just not this time. It's not a good time. So um again, I'm so sorry. I get long-winded. But this is fun.
No,
I'm
it's
glad.
good. Rants are good because it gives, the thing with podcasts is it's hard because nobody cares about our story. They've heard our story the past like 13 episodes we've made. Now it's time for your story. So we want to hear you rant, we want to kind of
Yeah,
interject less. So
for sure.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's funny because actually Catherine did this a couple episodes ago that she went like on this rant, and I was like, it's good though, like when you start talking like that and you kind of just go off, because it shows your passion and it shows that you really care about what you're talking about. Because if you have just like short little answers, I mean, yeah, it could be because you're tired, but usually it's because you don't care as much. When you get like super into something, people can tell that.
Yeah.
And I personally want to listen to those people more because that passion really shines through. So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Brian, I'm not going to take you more than an hour.
I'm
So
I'm good. If you want to go for a few more minutes, I do have to run soon. Like I said, I am driving the truck and trailer, so you can see how small of a company we are. We all kind of pitch in where we can. I like going to races anyway, but yeah, 4 a.m. departure tomorrow. You look like you're in sun. I think Angels in Minnesota or maybe Arizona. I don't know, but it was 19 degrees here in Central Texas. It was icy again yesterday. I think we have a high of 16 overnight. So I'm hoping that the weather in Southern California is, even though we're in the high desert, so I know it gets cold, but
It
yeah,
was
just to get it.
cold the last 2 days, and the
Was it?
wind has been atrocious. Today, I was like, I layered up thinking it was going to be like just like every other day, and it was 70
No.
something and I
Oh,
had all of my black gear on with like three
yeah,
black layers, and the sun's just
of
beating on
course,
me.
of course,
So I'm
yeah.
like, why? So
Of
I don't
course,
know, maybe just don't bring
yeah,
the cold with you, please. Like
yeah.
I moved out
No,
here
I
to get
don't.
away from it too. So
I mean, that's why I'm in a sweatshirt and I have a long sleeve shirt under it, and yeah, it's the heat. You know, they're asking us to save energy and whatnot. So
Mhm.
because there's like
I'm
very
in
low wind.
I'm in North Dakota right
Oh,
now,
North
and this
Dakota. Yeah, you said that. Duh.
yeah, this last weekend it was negative 58 with our wind chill, and
No.
I decided that was a good time to try and drive a couple hours away. My car had such a hard time keeping up. It was so terrible. And the whole time I was driving, I was like, why didn't I just move to California with Catherine? Like, why didn't I just do that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've driven across North Dakota, and you're right. There's parts of that place is pretty flat, pretty flat.
hmm
Yeah, I was
That
like,
was the worst.
where are the mountains?
Yeah, there's no, no, no,
No,
no. There's
I,
if you get to like way west North Dakota, there's the Badlands, which is
yeah,
really
I
cool.
went to the,
But they're not really mountains. They're kind of more like mini canyons.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it's
stopped.
still,
I stopped there and made sure I took pictures and kept
yeah,
going
yeah.
on. And I think I was on my way. I picked up the truck and trailer in Michigan and went across my first time across Minnesota, North
Oh,
Dakota.
beautiful.
I'd been to Montana before, and I forget where I went. Boise, Idaho, I think, is where I dropped it off. So,
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, but yeah.
So what are you looking forward to most in your drive that you're going to be taking? I mean, other than waking up at 4 a.m. Are there like
Um,
spots that you're like looking to stop at or anything?
no, no, I get to tag team with a gentleman named Claudio Camara from our that works down in the shop, and we haven't really got to spend a lot of time together before, so it'll be cool to, have 15 hours at driving at least, plus stops and whatnot, because we have to be DOT certified because of the weight, so we're both restricted to 11-hour drive days, and but teaming up, we'll go 15. I've done this route a few times. I can tell you what I'm least looking forward to is crossing into California because you can only go 55 miles an hour. It's so dumb. Yeah, it's like you cross through the vegetable. Are you carrying any fruits or vegetables or meat or anything? No, just dirt bikes. I want to go, and then anything being towed 55 miles an hour. Whereas in Texas, the speed limit was 85, and we're going all of it. So no, I've seen this route before, and so I don't know. It'll be kind of cool though with when Claudio's driving to peek out the window more than what I do when I am driving. So, but I don't know. We have an F350 dually platinum, so it has massaging seats and cooling seats or heated seats, and so it makes it bearable. And towing that trailer, it tows it so nicely. So I think I'm most excited about just seeing everybody again. The enduro cross season wrapped up in November, and I wasn't there for the last couple of rounds, so I haven't seen the paddock in a few months, and just see new people and new teams and just that first catch up. And this round is very early because the next round in Arizona isn't until the end of March, so we'll have a nice long window in between. But so it makes us all hurry up and scramble to get our graphics done and get all of our sponsorships done and make sure the activations are done. And yeah, so I don't know. It's sometimes just driving, even when you're by yourself, it can be peaceful at times too. And then you get the people that honk at you like, yeah, that's the SHERCO truck, like, so that's always fun too. Or they post on social media and I'm like, yeah, I was in there. I saw you guys. So um, yeah,
Well, that's kind of cool. I guess I
yeah.
never really thought about that aspect of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes I'll do a
that's
story, like I may even do it tomorrow, 4 in the morning, just scroll the truck with the lights on and everything. Like if you see us, I-10 West, take a picture and we'll send you some goodies like Progressive, our title sponsor, sent us a bunch of hats. And so I'll just have Cody and Cooper autograph it and then send it to somebody if they, actually saw us and shared it with us. So yeah, just fun stuff
that's
like that.
really cool.
Yeah.
All right. I need to be on I-10 by tomorrow.
Yeah, starting in San Antonio. Well, yeah, basically San Antonio. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Brian, I have two shameless plug questions
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
Question number one, I'm actually writing a book
Oh,
for sponsorship seekers.
sweet.
And I'm wondering if you would be willing to write the foreword when I'm done with it.
I'd be honored.
Yes. I was like scared to ask that question for so
Why?
long. I was like, I'll just get him on the podcast instead. I don't know,
Really?
because I feel like I keep asking, like, Brian, you want to come do this thing? Brian, you want to come talk about sponsorships? And I'm like, I still haven't gotten you in Minnesota
Obviously,
yet.
I enjoy it, so it's all good. Yeah.
I feel bad because I found out. So the guy that does the marketing for Moon Motorsports had a horrendous crash
Oh
last year,
boy.
and he's been in and out of surgeries. Like he just had another one a couple weeks ago. So I've been plugging away at other ones, but I've been waiting for them because I know you want them, and it's like God.
Oh
So I
man.
feel
Well,
bad, but I'm working
don't.
on it. Angel's even got us a plug for Colorado, maybe for you. So
Okay.
Yeah.
maybe she's working
Okay.
on it.
Working with
Yep.
the guy. So yeah.
Okay, but the second shameless plug is how important is a coach for somebody that has no idea what they're doing for sponsorship?
You know, we just talked about it, and I was looking back at my first day at a desk at the Houston Rockets, even just selling tickets, and they sat me down. That's your desk. I didn't have a computer yet. And what am I supposed to do? I like tap the guy on the shoulder. What am I supposed to do? He goes, you see that box over there? He's like, grab a bunch of pieces of paper out of that, put it on your desk and call those people. So people would sign up to win this dates me, but Akeem Olajuwon autographed shoe or basketball, whatever it was. And on there, they'd indicate there's a checkbox. I'm interested in season tickets. So I, I picked up the phone for the first time and I'm like, this is Brian, and I'm with the Houston Rockets. It says you'd like season tickets. You know, how can I? You know, I had no idea what I was doing. Right. So having there was groups, one in particular called Game Face Marketing, which was essentially was a guy named Rob Cornelis. So I'll because he would see us one time, remembered our names after just asking one time, knew everybody's name in the room, and um he taught us all these tricks on how to sell. And so without those, I would have been just miserable. But within the first year, and you have to remember the Houston Rockets just came off championships. This is the WNBA had just started, the Houston Comets. So Rockets had been sold out. My focus was Houston Comets and arena football team. And I became, even though I was late to the game, I was in the top 3 in terms of sales quickly because I learned how to do it because I had those kind of mentors and people I could go and talk to. And but to answer your question, it is crucial, I think, especially sponsorship because of it's just way more than ticket sales, which ticket sales is not just ticket sales. It's family entertainment. It's it's like Starbucks. I saw you drinking Starbucks. It's not coffee. It's an experience. So yeah, it's crucial. And if I could recommend anybody, I'd recommend Captain.Hurley. So no, it's very important no matter what you're doing. I think in business, even though where I am, I have a mentor. He's back in Houston, but we connect every once in a while. So I make sure that I'm on top of my game. I try to find marketing resources, sales resources, and again, just try to stay ahead of the game and learn. You constantly need to be learning. Um, to better your craft, whether that's riding a dirt bike, selling sponsorships, whatever it may be, slinging
So
coffee.
Brian, you're saying that you didn't just be born with the ability to sell multi-million-dollar jersey gear.
My mom said, you got a job in sales? You barely talk. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I did. I sure did. So yes, some people have a gift of gab, which I don't have. But I know a lot of people that can just strike up a conversation. And I sit there and I go, gosh, I wish I had that ability to do that. And then I said, well, we all do. It's just figuring out the right thing to say at the right moment, and then you can kind of hit it off. But yeah, you're right. It's it's something. Sponsorship is not something you just say, okay, I think I'm going to get sponsorships today, and it's not gonna happen. You're going to fail miserably. So, just yeah. You need a coach.
Yeah.
You need a mentor.
Oh, thank you. I keep getting questions now. Do you do sponsorships? Like you have to have all of your stuff signed by a certain month, or is there a continuous wheel of the ability to get sponsored throughout the year?
Yeah, I think it's no matter whether it's Major League Soccer or SHERCO, we're in the same boat, whether it's inbound, whether I'm on this side of the table or that side of the table. So if I'm asking people into the season, there's certainly retroactive or stuff. It just depends on budget cycles. It's like, well, sorry, we don't have any money, or others like, yeah, it doesn't depend on our fiscal or whenever we are. So, and it could be a totally different budget. I think I mentioned to this before. It doesn't have to be a marketing budget. They could be, I sold several sponsorships with the Houston Dynamo where it came out of an HR budget. One in particular was a company called Stat Oil at the time. It was the Norwegian state oil company that had operations in Houston, and there was a shortage of engineers. And so they did a big sponsorship to recruit engineers, and it was all about education, and their activation was on education. So it didn't come out of a marketing budget, it came out of HR and sales actually. So so there's don't just ask for the marketing budget. Well, oh, you don't have any money in your budget. Well, what about the sales budget? What about the HR budget and things where we can be creative in figuring this out. Even on your billing, like if they're like, well, you get a deal in November, is it okay if we pay you in January? And if it works for you, it works for you. Do it. Just be creative to figure those things out. So yeah, certainly we'll take half season, do late season or whatever it may be. Clearly, we want to have enough window where we can get things like this printed up and done, and because the cost after the fact, if we do get another big one, we'll usually put that on the sponsor saying, well, if you want that now, your guys are going to have to pay for that instead of us. So just, be mindful of that.
Nice. I like that. Well, I am going to call it on my questions. Angel, do you have any more questions before we ask Brian for some final words of wisdom?
No, I think you took my last one, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We won't take too much more of your time, Brian. Just want to ask, do you have any last words for anybody who might be listening? Words of wisdom, like they're listening to this wondering what the heck sponsorship even is.
Well, I think they need to be thankful for you for looking out for everyone and at least thinking about this, because it is daunting. And I've looked from GNCC to Supercross privateers, and even those folks that are racing pro class that don't have a clue. They, they're great at riding a dirt bike. I mean, let's face it, they are great. But, having that conversation, knowing what to say, having the ability to trigger, the right responses and things is so crucial. So, I just applaud you for doing this, and I'm honored to be a part of this and just sharing, what I've learned over time. And if anybody, has any questions directly for me, just reach out to Catherine and she can set up, introduction and things. So, more than happy to do that kind of stuff. So, that there's just such a need. There's such a need, and there is opportunity. I think that's where I think I saw it on your post is like people think, well, there's not opportunity. There's no opportunity for me. I'm just this person in Texas, or I'm just this person in Minnesota, or whatever it may be, and they don't care about me. Well, you have to change your mindset, change that attitude, and there could be opportunity. I mean, even if it's just budget relieving things, like you get a free motorcycle, you're getting free oil, you're getting free this, that, it costs you a lot less to participate in this very costly sport. So think about those types of things.
Well, cool. All right. I'll call it. If any of you guys listening have any questions about coaching or want to check out the classes, there's a $7 course. Otherwise, the coaching is also available at www.leakymushroom.com. And then just click sponsorships. Easy peasy. There's my shameless plug.
It's not
Thank
shameless.
You so much, Brian.
It is not shameless. It is meant to, it has to happen. People need to go. Then $7. I mean, come on, people. That is an easy investment in yourself. I mean, if you're not investing in yourself, you're not going to succeed going forward. So take advantage of that. $7. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
the $7 is for the people who are all like, coaching's too expensive. Like, I just need to figure out what to do, how to start. So that $7 course is all about it's 3 lessons. It's how to get a sponsor's attention. It's how to stop getting ghosted by sponsors. And it's the seven deadly objections that sponsors have and the 7 secret questions to ask them to get them to want to schedule another meeting with you. Kind of like what we talked about finding that value, that customer acquisition, like the weird subtleties that happen,
Yeah.
lots of sales
Yeah.
stuff. So
I need to take your ghosting class.
I mean, you've already kind of been a part of it. Zach started it with you, so he followed
Yeah.
that framework and it worked.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, come on, people, $7 for that. That is quality right there. That is so amazing. That's awesome. Get in there.
Oh,
Get in
thank
there.
you.
Yep.
www.leakymushroom.com.
Get in there.
And then click on sponsorship.
Get in there.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. Have a stellar rest of your day. Happy packing
pleasure.
and safe travels.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep. Bye.